You're always going to have that. There's a lot of that they hated us when we came here. But really what they didn't like is that you couldn't just f around anymore. The real killers were here now.
Yeah.
The real top shelf, like national headliners, guys like Tom Segura and Tim Dillon, and these animals moved into town.
So this is like a new hub.
Oh, it's the hub of the world for comedy. Right. The Comedy Mothership is the hub of comedy in the world.
That's wild.
Yeah. And it just opened 2 years ago.
By the way, congratulations on your magnificent success.
Thank you very much.
And you're a comedian too, huh?
Yeah,
no shit.
I do a lot of different things.
Yeah. Wow.
Joe Rogan's biggest battles in life have been trying to convince people he's not 5'3" and that he's famous for being a comedian. After developing a passion for martial arts as a teenager, Rogan would go on to win the US Open Championship Taekwondo tournament as a lightweight at the age of 19. However, after suffering from headaches, he became concerned about the long-term effects of life as a fighter, so he turned to stand-up comedy at the age of 21. Now that I think about it, this is actually eerily similar to the Brendan Schaub experiment, only Rogan never fought professionally and decided to pursue comedy several years earlier than Schaub did. Believe it or not though, they both still continue to lie about their height. And so Rogan would pursue a career in comedy with the intensity of an infectious disease, using the publicity from his acting career in various Hollywood sitcoms throughout the 90s, as well as his role as the host of Fear Factor in the early 2000s. He would use this to cultivate a stand-up comedy audience that would sustain him until he found mainstream fame as a podcaster on The Joe Rogan Experience. But one thing that always tickles my testicles is listening to Joe explain to non-comedy guests on his podcast that he's a comedian and he owns a comedy club, which over its short existence has somehow become the nucleus of comedy around the world. If you haven't heard yet, the Comedy Mothership and Kill Tony set the tone for comedy worldwide. Now, what in the actual fuck that means exactly, we'll never know. However, there is a problem here, but I think I've found the solution, so let me explain. It's probably quite obvious to most of you by now that Rogan became a household name through his podcast, not through stand-up comedy. This has become quite a controversial point for a lot of his fans who insist that his comedy fame is justified by his talent and has nothing to do with his podcast fame. I've personally spent hours investigating Rogan's stand-up comedy specials, and my conclusions have been well documented here on YouTube and in forensic detail on Patreon. Joe Rogan's stand-up fucking sucks. The problem is that because he's so famous now, the comedy community has accepted him with open arms because of the exposure that he brings them, and now that he's opened up his comedy club in Austin, he's managed to create his very own comedy community. This is where things get interesting, because Joe Rogan the comedian is very different from Joe Rogan the comedy club owner.
Thank you for doing this.
My pleasure. Do you want to sit here?
No.
No, okay.
No.
It's your show, though.
Well, but that's not what we do. On YouTube, we say the Joe Rogan Experience, and people click.
Ah.
Don't sue.
Good move. I won't sue.
Don't sue.
Come on.
Thank you.
On the last episode of The Tim Dillon Show, Joe Rogan made a guest appearance from his own studio, and it's not the first time he's done this. If you think back to the intervention with Brendan Schaub when him and Brian Callen were on Fox, that was also shot in Rogan's studio, and he's also done a couple of other shows, such as Breaking Points, from there as well. For some reason, he doesn't seem to like to leave his little bubble anymore now that he's a big shot, so he just gets everyone to come to him instead. So it's kind of weird watching an episode of The Tim Dillon Show with Jamie pulling shit up and Rogan steering the conversation, especially when Tim was just on JRE a few weeks ago. And as per usual, Joe started the conversation off by talking about the intricacies of comedy, how comedy specials are made, you know, all the boring behind-the-scenes stuff that nobody gives a shit about. There's always someone in the comments with a timestamp to skip forward. But on this occasion, they were actually talking about Tim Dillon's recent comedy special recording at the Mothership and how Rogan came in and saved the day. And I gotta say, guys, Rogan was 100% on the money here, and I gotta give him credit for it. Take a look for yourself, and then I'll pick it up straight after and break it down. This actually kind of caught me off guard.
Thank you for letting me shoot the special at the Mothership. It was amazing. Thank you for saving it.
Thank you for doing it. Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
When we got there, it's generally some executive type person decided to put lamps on every table and light the room up.
It was the brightest I had ever seen the club.
Yeah, it was weird.
I could see earrings.
Yeah, you could see everything.
Everything. It was tough. People were,
it was tense.
They were having fun, but
you were doing really well. But your opening acts were struggling. Because it was a feeling when you got there. When I walked in, I was like, Jesus Christ, this feels like a fucking, like a board meeting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It felt like a conference hall. It felt weird.
It was weird.
And everybody seemed like a little off-put by it. Like
Yeah.
everyone, the audience was tense.
You know, you do comedy all the time, and then you go out and you shoot a special, and you go, okay, I've done this a million times. It's gone great, and it'll go great now, and we'll just get it on film. And then you go out, and it's like, and I'm like embarrassed because you're there. And in my head, I'm like, I hope he left. Because I saw people that 8 o'clock Wednesday show. I'm like, they don't want to be here. Some of these people don't want to be here.
Well, I don't think that's the case.
Maybe
it
wasn't.
I think they were weirded out.
By how light lit
It was so well lit.
It was so well lit.
There's a light in front of you on your table.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was a bad idea.
And then
I
Thursday shows were the best ever.
Yeah, well, that's perfect. Well, we got them to shut off everything.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, we're just going to leave these lights on. I'm like, let me see them off. Like the stage light.
Right.
I go, let me see that off.
Right.
Let me dim it down. Let me see it off. Okay, take it off. No, get rid of it. Get rid of it. And they did everything.
Yeah.
It's so nice owning a club.
Of course.
There's no committee.
Yeah.
There's no committee. There's me and you.
You're
What do you want?
You're the dictator.
But it's not even a dictator. It's like
Right.
I do whatever the comic wants. Like,
Right.
whatever you need. Tell me
Right.
what you want. We'll do it that way?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You want music? No music? Okay, no
Right.
music. Whatever you want. If I was directing or producing
Right.
your special,
Yeah.
this never would have happened. I would have said, no, we have to have it very dark. Like,
Right.
let's take a look at it.
Right.
Let me hear the sound. Sound's
Yeah.
got to be cranked all the way up.
Yeah.
We got to make sure there's no things that are missing, and
Right.
we're good.
Right.
And just focus on Tim. Let him do his thing.
Right.
It's just everybody is an artist.
That makes complete sense to me. Without even seeing the final product, I can already tell that the changes Joe made to Tim's setup for the recording were an improvement on what was already there. In my opinion, this is where Rogan should be putting his energy. With the decades of experience around different productions, from sitcoms to comedy clubs to UFC events, Fear Factor, and even as a podcaster, Joe's seen a lot of different setups and production designs, and he seems to know what he's talking about. Who in their right mind lights up a Tim Dillon comedy special like a fucking Christmas tree? How is that going to work? Unfortunately, I don't think Rogan's going to take a step back from all his other roles to focus on producing and directing comedy specials. You see, Joe loves being the arbiter of comedy, he loves being the gatekeeper for new talent, and setting the tone for comedy around the world. The Austin Holy Trinity is going on JRE as a guest, then doing a set at the Mothership, and then guest starring on Kill Tony. And when it comes to recognizing talent, Rogan fucking sucks at that too. Cat Williams said it at the beginning of the year, Joe's been pushing 6 never-been-funny comedians on his show, and when you combine that with his own stand-up comedy, it's really hard not to cringe when Rogan bricks up over comedians hanging out and talking shit.
I think when mediocrity and stuff like that rises in the culture, it's not an overall net positive.
No.
When everybody's chasing fame, which is a very unstable thing, you know, it's a bad goal system to have. So I think when kids are growing up and they're watching this stuff and they're going, oh, I should just be internet famous and that's how I'll make my money.
Well, you know that's like a giant goal among kids today.
It's huge.
Like as far as like job aspiration, influencers very high on the list.
Do your kids know how like well known you are, or do you think they don't?
It would be amazing if they didn't.
Well, I don't know. I'm
That'd
sure
be pretty amazing.
But they know.
Yeah, they know.
Okay.
They're super aware. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a freak when I go places.
And people just come
weird.
up to you and
Yeah,
it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Most people are real nice.
Right.
So it's not a real problem. You know, it's what comes with the job.
Not my people.
Yeah.
They want my time.
Yeah, well, they want my time too.
Because I don't have a family,
You
so
don't
I'm
have a
just
family.
sitting there alone. They go.
Yeah. They'll sit right next to you.
And they'll point to their girlfriend and they'll go, tell her how the Clintons kids. Tell her. I keep telling her. She doesn't believe me. Tell her.
No one suffers more than the girlfriends of our fans.
I mean, one woman
No
came
one.
to me and she said, I think you're really funny. And she goes, but every day I hear either Joe Rogan's voice, Theo Von's voice, your voice.
Yeah.
And she goes, I just want it to stop. And sometimes she'll go like, I'll wake up and you're like yelling about something in my house. And my boyfriend's laughing. He goes, it's really funny. And she goes, why are you? And he goes, no, he's screaming about his some waitress at a diner and ripped him off. And she goes, make it stop. Turn it off. Why are we listening to this? Why are we listening?
Well, ladies, you have your true crime shows.
You have
This is
them.
this is what we need as I could say this as men for sure,
Yeah.
and certainly as comedians, and including a lot of comedian females. We need to talk.
Yeah.
It's very fun, and
Right.
it makes life enjoyable. It makes life make more sense.
Right.
The drones freak me out. Talking about you, or to you
Yeah.
rather, about the drones
Yeah.
makes me laugh.
It's fun.
I would rather talk shit about what's going on in Ukraine and laugh with you than really stay up at night
Thinking
freaking out
about it and
about the fact
freaking
that we
out.
might be.
Because some people's job is to freak out. That's not our job.
I don't want to freak out.
Joe Rogan 2024. Talking shit is very fun. Seriously, does he hear himself talking? Joe's idea of talking shit is sitting in his studio popping zins and smoking cigars while his buddies' jokes go flying over his shiny head. Then he'll interrupt everyone to read a post he saw on Twitter the other day that turns out to be completely made up by some random, so he'll insist that Jamie find the real one that he thinks that he saw. For someone who loves to talk shit, most of the time he really is just full of shit. After going on and on about the drones and the orbs and how it's probably China starting World War III, Jamie inconveniently revealed the truth.
Jamie, are you just going to terrify us the whole
No,
time?
so that's what these are just stars that are a little bit
This
out of
is
focus.
this is a John
okay.
Summit concert. This is
Okay.
Diplo. This is nothing.
The star out of focus on the bottom looks exactly like the photos.
So these are just stars.
Yeah, mostly that's what it seems like. I found the original post that one came from.
Thank you, Jamie.
Wow. Dude,
We're thinking
stars,
we're getting
We're debunking
nuked.
it, and it's just a star.
stars look dope as. That looks exactly. And the top
It's
one,
not China nuking us. It's just the stars.
the top one
Beautiful.
looks exactly like it. Let it.
Especially if I pause it at a
Yeah,
time.
the
Yeah.
top one looks exactly like it.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, we're fine.
Biden's good.
Except for all that Syria, Ukraine.
Okay, that was actually funny as fuck. They'd literally spent the previous half hour discussing how we're on the verge of World War III because of these unidentified orbs that keep popping up. Rogan was balls deep in all these conspiracies, reading up on all these different opinions about what these spherical objects could be, and then Jamie does 5 minutes of Googling and figures it out. And for someone who's so chronically online like Rogan is, he really doesn't see the irony of spending so much time getting Jamie to pull up shit that he saw on Facebook and Twitter, and then in the next breath complaining about how toxic social media is.
You know, I can summon my car.
That's crazy.
Like if I'm in a parking lot and I want my car to come to the front, if I park back there, I can summon it.
Yeah,
It'll come to get me.
that's crazy.
That's nuts. And then I can press the address and I'll say, take me home. And it just takes me home.
Right.
Full navigation, stops at red lights, puts its blinker on when it changes lanes, recognizes where traffic is, goes around it.
Right.
We're so close to not needing drivers. And then that's going to be great for the government. They could just shut your car down, you know, and all the rebels are going to have like old Ford pickup trucks and shit
Right.
with carburetors.
Right.
Because you're going to, like, that's what Tucker drives. You ever
Right.
see Tucker's car?
Yeah.
He drives no navigation, no
Right.
GPS, no nothing.
Right.
I never send him like Instagram stories or something because
Yeah.
he doesn't even have it.
No,
He doesn't look at any of that stuff.
he doesn't. It's kind
healthy.
of cool.
It's the way to do it.
It's the way to do it.
I'm pretty close to that.
He doesn't know who the Costco family is.
Yeah, I'm not close to that because I do go on Instagram a lot, and I really like to go on YouTube. YouTube's my
There's
favorite.
something about being a comic. You want to see what's going on.
Well, it's also like YouTube for me is a nice escape.
Yeah.
I get to watch a video about an ancient civilization, or watch a guy go hunt bucks in the forest, or watch
Yeah.
a professional pool game.
Right.
To me, it's like just entertainment. And,
Right.
But the social media thing, man, I just think most people are not cut out for it. I think it's bad for you. I think it makes you think you're in conflict all the time. Everybody's always arguing about stuff. People are dunking on each other. I think it accentuates mental illness. I've known people that I'm friends with, and I can't even talk to them anymore because of their tweets.
Did he just say he's pretty close to being completely off social media like Tucker Carlson, and then admit that he's always on Instagram and YouTube? Come on, bro, get your story straight. Honestly, like I was saying before, Rogan's social media obsession is ruining his podcast because of all the bullshit that he gets duped by and tells Jamie to pull up for everyone to see. But getting trolled has become a big issue for Rogan, especially since his last comedy special dropped. Last week, he called out channels like mine because he doesn't like how much engagement we get for talking shit about him.
When I was younger, I'd read things that people would say about me, and I'd be like, oh my God, like, who's this asshole? That's not true. And you get all upset. So then I stopped reading all comments about me. And oh my God, it changed everything. Changed everything.
You do the post and ghost, right?
Yes, it's the way to go. I have friends, and they'll come to me, like they'll come to the comedy club or something, and they'll be like genuinely emotionally distraught because people are attacking them online. I go, but they're not here. First of all, it's not true. You're really funny. You're a great guy.
Right.
So it's all bullshit, and they don't know you.
Right.
So they're just deciding to do this, and they know that it fucks with you because you talk openly about it, and so now they're going to accentuate it. They're going to keep jabbing at you. They got a rock. There's a window.
Yeah, they're in the cheap seats. We're whipping them in there. Do you think it's something that's like systemic that is literally spreading and growing? Like the people that put that type of trash out all the time, and then they think there's some sort of value to that, and then other people see it.
There is some
and then,
value, right? They do get engagement, right? And if you're a person that has like a YouTube show where all you do is shit on people, you have bad karma for sure. You're suffering.
Yeah, but you got to deal with that the rest of your life.
There are guys who make a living doing that. They're all fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's value in it. But I do think you make something out. You can create a career doing that. That's part of the problem, is that it's effective.
Right, like the trolls. Like,
it does get engagement.
Sure.
But then, what kind of engagement are you getting?
Okay, 100% Joe was talking about Bert Kreischer at the beginning there, maybe Whitney Cummings as well. They're the first two comics that I can think of who have openly cried on podcasts because of all the hate they get. But we've heard this from Rogan before, and it's been getting stronger ever since he dropped his comedy special earlier this year, and we all made videos ragging on him. I think Elephant Graveyard's video, Burn the Boats as a Funeral for Joe Rogan's comedy career, must have really gotten under his skin. It was probably the most viral of all the videos reviewing his comedy special, with over 3.6 million views as of recording, and we know that Rogan's people tried to have it taken down at one point. And look, I don't necessarily disagree with everything Rogan just said, but trying to make it out as if anybody who says anything negative about him is mentally ill or they're trolling or they're crazy or whatever, that's just a massive cope. The real question he should be asking himself is why these videos get so much engagement. And if he'd actually spent the time to try to understand why there's such a growing community calling him out and keeping him accountable, he'd realize that we're mostly fans who got fed up with his bullshit. For example, when he has guests on JRE like Josh Dubin who apologize for not vetting the guy he brought on the podcast, who allegedly dismembered somebody after he got him an early release from prison, when Josh was actually his lawyer and had access to all his files and records. Yeah, somebody's got to call that out, right? Or when Rogan took advantage of a mentally ill Terrence Howard who thinks he learns advanced maths and science in his mother's womb and can prove that 1 × 1 = 2. I mean, there are countless examples of Rogan fucking up. Except if we call him out on it, apparently we're just mentally ill losers who love to hate. Because if we knew him personally, we'd know he's a nice guy. Bro, seriously. But when it comes to stand-up comedy, that has to be Rogan's kryptonite. It's the biggest open secret in the comedy world that Joe's not that funny, and he hates it. That time Mark Norman's joke that he was a bomb expert probably still haunts him to this day. Like I said at the beginning though, he clearly has an eye for production design and directing comedy specials. That seems to be where his talents lie, and opening the Comedy Mothership has given him an opportunity to get more involved in the production sides of things, so we'll have to wait and see how Tim Dillon's comedy special comes out. And remember, if you haven't already, check out the link in the description below to my Patreon, where you'll find a bunch of videos covering Rogan, Kill Tony, and various comedy specials, and of course the LOL suits. I'll definitely be doing a review on Tim's upcoming special, so make sure you're signed up so you don't miss out. While you're here though, hit the subscribe button and make sure you give me a thumbs up if you ended up liking this video. Thanks for watching guys, I'll catch you in the next one.
Did you get that photo, Jesse?
Jamie.
Or Jamie, sorry. It's
Pull it up, young Jesse.
I sent it to the wrong guy, maybe that's why.
We were talking about Jesse before, that's why.